do.
Funny story, several years ago, I remember lead feeder always, tried to make, they tried to position themselves as, or tried to make their product unique from Albacross based on the fact that they connect with your Google Analytics account and identify leads by data you have in Google Analytics, while Albacross told that it's incorrect, that it's much better to install their tracking code, and track upcoming IPs. So probably half a year ago, if I'm correct, lead feeder also changed to that model. What I thought, so my question is, what is the most accurate way to identify this IP so you might be sure that the data is near 100% correct?
So I would start by saying that it was February 4th that Google Analytics cut off access to that data. So lead feeder didn't have a choice to switch to the tracking script. They had to switch to the tracking script because that's because Google and nothing lead feeder did or anybody else that accessed that data, but they were forced to move to a tracking script because Google wasn't providing that the network domain and service provider within that field anymore. So they were forced to move towards the tracking script. And I would say both of them. I'd say that's a competition you don't want to get into because both of them had their advantages and disadvantages. Going through Google Analytics and going through your own tracking script, both of them, it was a 1-for-1. When you look at a net, it was 1-for-1. Some were able to identify some companies, some were able to identify others. And now that they've changed the tracking script, it'll generally be the same across the board for everybody.
Interesting. Got it. I wanted to ask you, and I always save this question to every our guest. If you'll take a look back at your journey, what mistakes did you make, and what, from knowing what you know nowadays, what did you do differently if you were starting right now?
What did I do right is the better question along the so I would say that I've kind of talked to one of them. Hire slower, take your time hiring, but if it's not a good fit, definitely get out of that relationship. It's not fair to you or the coworker or your employee if you if you don't feel like they're going to advance or that they're doing the job correctly. It's not fair to you or them to keep them in that role. So I recommend to everybody, because I made this mistake, is take your time hiring, really feel out the relationship and the individual, and then make your hiring decision if something doesn't feel right, and if it's not performing from the get-go. If they're not performing from the get-go, then make the decision to if you want to coach that person through it, or if changes need to be made, right? The other one, I would say, I didn't plan for the long term right away. I think I had dreams to what the long term would look like. I didn't have a strategic plan or direction in place. So I was, while I enjoy flying by the seat of my pants, I think I was flying by the seat of my pants too much, and that I should have had more of a direction, a strategic direction of where the company was growing and a plan for that. And I've been able to adapt a little bit. We still fly by the seat of our pants a little bit here, but we have more of a direction on where we're going, proper roadmaps laid out. But if I also see a shiny penny, I usually chase it. So, but that's most entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What are strategic plans? So do you plan to raise funds and grow a product? Do you plan to stay bootstrapped? Do you plan to grow your team, or maybe do you plan exit at some time? What are strategic plans?
Yeah, so I think we plan to keep growing, obviously. I think we're in a good spot where we are, that we don't need to go raise any VC money. We're happy with the product and the company that we've built and the growth that we've seen month over month and year over year, to the point where I don't want to go and be in the position that I'm liable to a VC or at the mercy of a VC. I would rather lose my own money than someone else's, and that's a unique for VisitorQ. I'm not saying I would never go raise VC for a business I have 5 years down the road, but for VisitorQ, I don't want to be liable to someone else for the position that we're in. So I'd say we continue to bootstrap. There's a lot of good funding opportunities in Ontario and in Canada for founders in our position that make it where we don't have to go raise money. We can get capital, whether it be on a debt structure, whether it be on a grant structure, or a combination of both. So there's access to capital there that can fuel our growth, and that's what we plan on capitalizing on in the near term. And then overall, I would say we do plan to sell in the next 3 to 5 years. To who? That's a good question. Some of our competitors might be interested in a purchase, or other companies with related marketing and sales products that are looking to get into this space. And I think we can become we're confident that we can become a leader in this space in that time. And I think that our traction to date has shown that we're on a trajectory to do that.
Cool. Like it. Fingers crossed for success. You know what? I was also I thought we should dismiss this question, but still I want to ask it. What are thoughts? Because not lots, but still, your customers, your competitors have decent customer base. But what I have seen, most people have no clue how to deal with these leads they have identified. So what are tips? What is the best usage of this data? So how should you structure and plan your marketing campaigns based on the leads you have identified on your website?
Oh, I see. So utilizing our software is the question. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I usually recommend not from a marketing perspective. The best use of our software comes from a sales perspective. Providing these leads to the sales team where they can qualify them, whether it's the marketing team or the sales team qualifying them, and then following up with those companies. And that's where we've seen the greatest success for our clients and internally. So the general process that we usually recommend is you would, let's say you have 10 leads that visited your website in a day. You would go through, you would see 5 recurrent clients, 2 are potentially not the perfect fit, and then you have 3 that are good qualified leads for you. So you narrow it down to those 3. And we have filtering in place that can help you do that as well. But you have those 3 and they're qualified. You then, one by one, start going through your sales process. So identifying who at that company would be in charge of purchasing your product. So for us, we sell to marketing managers generally. So we would look at who's the marketing manager at that company via LinkedIn or via VisitorQ contacts. And then we'd go through our sales process of sending them a cold LinkedIn outreach, an email if it's legal in the region, or actually just giving them a call. So going through that process of the sales process that they already have, and then we're just the lead gen. We're just the lead gen tool and the compass that points them in the right direction.